Good evening, and welcome to our interviews with our two nominees, our candidates for president-elect for the California Music Education Association. I'm Armelin De La O, immediate past president, and I'm here with Holly MacDonell and Jeff Malecki. And at this time, we're going to just begin our interviews. So Holly, you're up first. Briefly tell us about yourself and what makes you well qualified for this position. And just so you know, you can each have about 2.5 minutes to respond to each of the questions. All right.
Okay. I'm Holly MacDonell, and I love making, teaching, and talking about music. I was born and raised in suburban Southern California, and now I live 5 hours north of San Francisco on the rural north coast of California. I play violin and viola in local and regional orchestras and chamber ensembles. In my free time, I experiment with different sounds and pedals and effects, and I even stream live loop jams on the internet. I love my gardens, my dogs, my chickens, my husband, and I can't imagine a life doing anything or living anywhere else. Currently, I'm vice president of CMEA, where I'm responsible for some of the communication duties, like the publishing the quarterly digital magazine. I work on that team, and that's helped widen my scope of how the state MEAs and the national organization are beneficial to each other. Before serving on the executive board, I was CMEA's North Coast section president. I also assist with North Coast festivals, chair the Solo and Ensemble Festival, the All County Junior Orchestra, and I helped establish the Honor Orff Youth Ensemble, which is an Orff-based workshop for 4th through 6th graders. I worked on CMEA's DEIA committee, updating CMEA's bylaws and the language regarding diversity, equity, inclusion, and access, especially as it applies to music students and music education. And I also serve as a player representative on the Eureka Symphony Board, where I perform, and preside over Fieldbrook School's Site Council. I've taught kindergarten through 8th grade music for about 17 years, including 2 years of kindergarten through high school. I've had experience working not only full-time at one school, but also part-time at as many as 5 schools at a time and in almost as many school districts. Currently, I teach kindergarten through 8th grade general music, strings, music technology, and ukulele at Fieldbrook School, a small K through 8 school in Humboldt County. I enjoy working with others. I appreciate deadlines, and I'm always eager to learn from other educators, especially those innovators who recognize that it is our responsibility as educators to rise to the challenge of teaching 21st century learners.
Thank you, Holly. Jeff?
So I've been involved with CMEA for, I think, 7 or 8 years now, and I actually want to start by saying I've met amazing people, everyone who's on this Zoom, amazing people, but my favorite person in all of CMEA and the best person I know is Holly. So if Holly wins the presidency, we are in great hands, and I also look forward to talking to you as well. You're the best. I'm originally from Michigan, from the Midwest. I'm primarily a band person, but I've also done orchestra and choir. When I graduated from undergraduate, I ended up going to Phoenix to teach high school there. The reason I moved from Michigan was because I looked at my undergrad professors that I really respected and saw, their degrees on the wall from all kinds of different geographical areas across the country, and that's something that I really wanted to see. After teaching for 5 years, I actually burned out. I left the profession. I was done. And I think that's something that it's important to be transparent about, especially with the music educators I teach now. But I ended up going back to UNLV for my doctorate that was certainly in wind band conducting, but was also a time for me to really seriously examine kind of myself and my role in music and education, which I never lost my love and my passion for per se. So I'm really happy to have got back into music. I taught on the south side of Chicago, band orchestra and music education at a small university there. And then this is my 9th year at the University of San Diego. I got to start the band program from scratch, which is great. In addition to the music fun stuff, I got to do things like community building and all the organizational and financial things that go with that, things that we all do kind of every day, but to the nth degree. I also got to design and implement the music education program, which we recently restructured. We did kind of an assessment on our community here at USD and restructured it into a more broad teaching and learning degree that's a lot more adaptable for someone who wants to be a high school orchestra teacher or who wants to go into community music or many other things. I also was the Southern Border section president for 6 years. I have to say, things are great at the bottom of the state. Of course, I kept us afloat during COVID. That was something that we all did, and it was. But some other things, when I started, we kind of did an assessment on what we needed. And we weren't great with choral education, we weren't great with general music, and we weren't great with rural outreach. So we restructured the board a bit. We recruited some really great board members. Along with that came our Kids All Create Festival, which is grades three through sixth right now, doing Orff, strings, and singing. We brought back our high school choral festivals. We also expanded our Fortissimo Awards, which are a really great party, but also a really great recognition of some outstanding education in the Southern Borders section. And then we also strengthened and diversified our more traditional band, orchestra, choir, band and orchestra festivals, along with working with some other sections in Southern California about expanding those. So I've had a really great time both being in CMEA for, like I said, the last 7 or 8 years, being in California for a while, but also getting to see a little bit of what's out there across the country. And I look forward to seeing what I can bring to this position.
Right. Thank you. Jeff, this question, you'll begin. What will you do to increase membership in the organization?
So I think our members need a reason to join. So in Southern Border, members, you have to be a member to join to be in the festival. You don't have to be a member to come to Fortissimo. That's kind of our more egalitarian event. So, you know, do you have to be a member of CMEA or not for that? It's up in the air. For SCSBOA, you need to be a member for festivals, period. For CBD or CODA, for CODA, you need to have the membership for all states. Say you're in CBDA, SCSBOA, and CMEA, that comes down to $325. CASMEC is $220. That's $545 before several drinks in the lobby. So I think we need to give our membership a reason that they have to sign up. Why do you need to? We do such amazing advocacy work. We do such amazing diversity work and so many other things. I think we need to fine tune that. Now, talking with sections and just kind of broad members across the state and certainly Southern California, one of the things I've heard in the last 5 years, especially was, new teachers really need something. And I said, actually, we're doing something. And of course, Ryan Duckworth and Ann have done outstanding work on the mentorship program, and it's there. So, can we build on something like that? With a new teacher who went through the credentialing process in California, can we have them in a collegiate chapter and retain them? For a new teacher who comes to California, I was just talking to a lot of those during marching season, and they said, wait, you're CMEA. Is that the one that does this or the other? Because there's so many letters of things. Is there a way we can roll out the welcome mat, the red carpet to those teachers who move here and start teaching? I should mention that in Southern Border, we were not really successful with our rural outreach, but I'd love to see at a state level an assessment of how we can better advocate for and ask what they need in the rural areas there. And of course, Holly is an amazing voice on that. With advocacy and diversity, I think folding more events. I'm sorry, I'm losing my notes here a little bit. And then finally, I think pooling our resources among those other organizations, pooling resources, streamlining messaging, unifying goals, and maybe possibly unifying even more, I think, to, again, build on the membership we have, but also see what else is happening in the state. And again, coming back to why do people need to sign up? Why should they?
Thank you. All right. Holly, same question. What will you do to increase membership in the organization?
There's an interesting paradox that I've noticed when it comes to membership. Like, you need to be a member to enjoy the benefits of the membership, but without enjoying those benefits, it's really difficult to grasp some of the very real yet somewhat vague reasons to become a member. Personally, membership in CMEA has influenced so much of my life as an educator. From the camaraderie I felt the first time I went to a conference, to the pride I felt the first time I sat on CMEA board of directors as a section president, and then on the state board as state vice president, and finally to the honor I felt in being part of CMEA's DEIA committee. Camaraderie with those walking similar paths as I, pride in being a representative of my region and my specific corner of the music ed world, and honor I felt in being asked to participate in really important work. They're very real feelings that shape the educator that I am today. And I think that sharing how each individual member has been personally impacted by membership in CMEA is really the top priority for me to increase membership.
All right. Thank you. So you both have made mention of the diversity, equity, inclusion, and access policy that CMEA completed. And you know that we've just recently completed a strategic plan. So Holly, this will be to you first. What will you do to continue movement in DEIA within the association and implementation of our strategic plan?
So I know that everything in the strategic plan was conceived with the concepts of diversity, equity, inclusion, and access being first and foremost. And those ideas should keep shaping the way we move forward as we implement that strategic plan. DEIA isn't like an added piece, but it's an integral part of the mission of music and arts education for all, like NAFME says. DEIA is the lens with which to view every decision we face, as access, equity, inclusion, and diversity are the mechanism by which all students succeed, no matter what the subject matter. CMEA must continue to lead with its DEIA policy and show that individual success is possible when communities support and when those communities feel supported.
Right. Thank you. Jeff?
Yeah, I was a state president when we got to workshop some of those. And I have to say, generally, when it comes to meetings where we're workshopping policies like that, they're usually a hard pill for me to swallow. And I don't like those type of things all the time. But I thought these conversations were so genuine and real. And that's why I think we should all be so proud of the policies that we have currently in the books. I think, with our DEI policy that's only a few years old, I think it's already time to start kind of assessing what works and what doesn't work from that. And I think very importantly, how to give it teeth. One of the things we talk about there is CMEA, just for an example, works to reform, add, and diversify state events by broadening musical genres and styles. And I think that's one of those where we can assess, and I don't think we're doing a great job of that at the state level or in many sections. And how can we frame these conversations to do better? In the southern border, it's been a conversation and a hard one, but we brought a mariachi rep on. We're talking about how to form a mariachi festival, maybe in conjunction with some pre-existing things. And those are conversations that didn't work initially because I don't think they were led by professionals in that specific field. So I think by diversifying the board in that way, we have a more robust way forward. With just that one little thing, I think that's one way to give the policy teeth. I should also say that I think the membership looks at the diversity and says, that's great, but I'm working on, I have my band and it's marching season and like, here we are with the blinders. So I think, how do we talk to those people in productive ways as well? And I think representation is important. And some of the conversations we're, again, having at the section level are talking about things like judging panels, which is important. This one could be kind of a quicker fix. Generally, we have 4 judges at our festivals, and they are almost consistently all old white men. Okay, but one of my goals is to have a maximum of half the old white men, and see how we can bring new faces into that, both in age as well as any other experience or anything like that. We also are working toward a composer initiative where if you signed up for one of the more traditional band orchestra festivals, you would be able to choose from a curated list, a piece by a diverse composer. You would get that. You would be able to program that and put it on the festival, and that would be free. It would be included in the cost of admission. So I think there are ways to both look at that big picture and like how to work with our DEI from the state level, and also to encourage the sections and just the more general membership to look at DEI in a productive way.
All right, thank you. Jeff, this question will be for you. As you know, CMA has placed a priority on advocacy. We have our own lobbyist. Our advocacy task force meets weekly. We're working with the other arts education organizations to put on Stand Up for Arts Education Day in Sacramento this coming April. What do you see as our priorities for advocacy efforts?
Stand Up for Arts Education Day is really great. If anyone can't make CASMEC but has some money to burn and really wants to go to Sacramento, that's it. Just this last year, I went, and I, at that point, kind of separated from the board a little bit and went off on my own. My goal was to talk to representatives from San Diego and Imperial counties who might not normally be warm to music education ideas. And I was just so enthralled with when you sit down for someone, maybe for 20, 30 minutes, who you disagree with, how you can kind of bring them along. And, we talked about the beer sticker on someone's water bottle, and that was my in. And we ended up having a real serious connection. And at the end, he said, you know what, maybe you are right, just as I was leaving. So I think those connections are really important. I also have kind of three big points that I think we can move forward with. Two things we generally are already working toward. I think we just need to be aware of them and continue to work on them. I think the work we're doing with AB 238, which is the grant for student teachers, that was the one where I made the breakthrough, where so many people don't realize student teachers don't get paid. And that could be transformative for the state. I have come back a few times, I think, to young teachers in the state of California, and I think that is really where we can focus and make sure those folks are really supported. And that's those are the exciting future of our org. Of course, Prop 28 was a huge accomplishment. So making sure that we're still advertising that, also putting guardrails on it from the advocacy level. And then I took a job in June, a part-time job at a public high school here, just for fun. And I had a credential and it expired. And I think one of the things we could go look at going forward is that even at renewing a credential from June, I still don't have one. And I would love to see CMEA take a lead on reforming the credentialing process, again, helping new teachers and new teachers to the state in a practical way. I think those are a way that we can continue our outstanding advocacy priorities.
Right. Thank you. Holly, same question. Do you need me to repeat it, or are you good?
I'm good. Thank you so much. I think great advocacy, as great leadership does, invites and inspires. All of the advocacy work I see happening with CMEA is done by educators that believe in the power of music and arts education to affect real change in a student, in a community, and in the world. Both CMEA and NAFME, the National Association for Music Education's advocacy teams, should continue to invite members to take advantage of their selection of tools, like the advocacy toolkit that's on the NAFME website. Inspiring members to utilize those tools waiting for them should be our top priority. The advocacy team meets regularly. Stand Up for Arts Education is an annual reminder at the state level. And as Jeff said, it's really fun in the super nerdiest way to go to Sacramento on Stand Up for Arts Day and meet with representatives and share with them our real stories. We just need to inspire CMEA members and the members of our school communities to feel ownership of these really accessible tools. We can inspire by communicating advocacy successes, letting members know that as long as they have the urge to advocate and access those advocacy tools, success can be achieved. Highlighting these successes in the magazine and on social media should also continue to be a priority. For instance, I know that Ryan Duckworth, a few years back, he had a team that they hired a whole new music teacher in their district because they worked really hard. They had some tools at their disposal, and it was a great success. So highlighting those success stories is, I think, really important too.
All right. Thank you. Holly, this question, this will be our last question, but in a perfect world, what would music education look like in California, and what would CMEA provide as an organization?
So in this world, in my rural K through 8 school, I only see students once or twice a week. My middle school string group, the group that I take to festival every year, meets with me for a mere 80 minutes a week. I'm sure I don't need to explain what kind of challenges that brings. So in a perfect world, right, every child, transitional kindergarten through 8th grade, whether in rural, suburban, or urban settings, and no matter what the grade demographic, the classroom teacher's prep period schedule, or how much PE was prioritized, every kid would participate in music class at school every day, discovering, creating, and collaborating with their voices, instruments, in digital formats, with age-appropriate materials, and also have access to cooperate in more traditional performing groups like orchestra and band and Orff ensembles. In this world, depending on which schools have a music specialist and depending on what that specialist is comfortable with, 6th through 8th graders might have limited or no music elective options. So in a perfect world, 6th through 8th graders, middle schoolers would have a variety of options. not just limited to the specific teacher that they have that maybe only is a great vocal and strings person, but maybe not as much band, or vice versa. Maybe in this world, right, high school students, especially at smaller rural schools, may have only one section of an AP class, which creates a really big scheduling conflict with music, often necessitating a zero period orchestra or jazz band, say, in order for students to participate in those AP classes they want to take, or in that jazz band or orchestra. I've taught more than a few talented string students in middle school, only to realize they didn't continue in high school simply because of the scheduling issues. In a perfect world, high school students would have as much access as needed for their music choices. Performing groups, music tech, music appreciation, whether they're at a small charter arts high school or a large public school. Instruction, of course, would be standards-based by trained, credentialed teachers during the school day, and students would not be exempt from music classes for scheduling, remediation, or any other reason. Instruction would recognize and support the social, emotional aspects of music learning in both covert and overt ways, with lessons specifically aimed toward the growth of community and of a student's whole self. Communication is the key to any organization, and as a state organization, CMEA can continue to find ways to connect the 9 CMEA sections to each other and the larger state board, offering places like the magazine and the website and social media channels for sections to highlight what students are accomplishing in their part of the state. I'm glad to see that CMEA continues to look for ways to offer festival experiences for any and every type of performing ensemble, and assist sections in creating their own festivals when requested or necessary. Mentorship is also a great way to connect teachers to each other throughout the state, and I know that with the right leadership inspiring its members, CMEA's reinvigorated mentorship program will continue to grow. CMEA would also provide support that music teachers need, like collaborating with the state to create music standards and framework. I know a few CMEA members that were part of the team designing the recently updated art standards. Like, what a team to be on. CMEA would support teacher training models for training institutions that are forward-looking, recognizing that today's students are 21st century learners. And I'd like to add that having a lobbyist that has immense experience with California government has already been really instrumental in some of these supports.
Great, thank you. Jeff?
Sure. My answer breaks down into two main parts. The first part is that I want the best state music education conference in the country. I think CASMEC is very good. I think things like the Golden State Band that CBDA puts together for small school programs, we're working out some kinks there, but I think the idea behind that is just outstanding. I would love to see the cost come down for that band and all the all-state ensembles. I think the thing Holly and I both talked about with diversity and advocacy and all these things really shine in CASMEC in many ways. But I still think there's a lot of progress that can be made there. And how do we do it? If we can have some real talk here, and again, this is slightly controversial, but I would love to have real talk about what more unification of the state orgs could look like. And again, I know it's blasphemous, and I know people may call me, kitten killers, and I'm not saying that we should, go knock down one of the other state orgs' doors tomorrow and I think we just need to have real conversations so that CASMEC can really truly reflect all of the amazing things that the state from the day-to-day educators are doing, as well as all of our wonderful state orgs. I think my experience having taught or learned in Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, in Illinois offer a unique perspective of things that do and don't work from other states. And I also have tried really hard in my last 9 years here to certainly be connected to the state through CMEA, but also through CBDNA and other orgs, and real connections with as many local teachers here in San Diego as I can. So I would love to have those conversations. Part two is, I don't know. As president, I would love to have to structure some real active listening sessions, and not just passive, but I think we can really get into the weeds here at the section level, and even at just the broad membership level in a meaningful way to encourage more conversation. What do the day-to-day people in the trenches who are teaching at a number of schools, what do they really want and what do they need? One of the things we say at USD that parents completely lose their mind, but we say we're not preparing you for your first job. We're preparing you for your fourth job, a job that probably doesn't exist yet. And I think we need to do something similar in CMEA. I want CMEA to pursue things we don't yet know we need to pursue. And I think that's how, as an organization, we really move forward.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you both for your thoughtful responses to these questions. Good luck to you both, and we'll see you at CASMIC.